Welcome back to another episode of GSPro V2 Tips. Today I wanted to talk about something very simple. I wanted to talk about the basics of starting GS Pro and the various screens that you will see, the small little dialog box that comes up when you first begin, the video settings, the resolution settings that you can select, the different modes that you can select, as well as some basics on starting to play GS Pro. Let's start by looking at some of the mechanics, some of the underneath the scenes type stuff in GS Pro. If you install GS Pro in the default location, you're going to see in the root of your C drive a folder called GSPro V1. I know it's V2. Don't worry about the name. It's just what the folder is. During the update, the folder was not able to be renamed, so it's not a big deal, the name of the folder. If you have a folder called V1, it's V2 if you have the latest version. So just go ahead and don't worry about that. Opening this up, you're going to see that we have the launcher. The launcher is the main application. It's to be used whenever launching GS Pro. That is going to be, this is the same shortcut on the desktop that launches the GS Pro launcher. The reason that we do that is that the GS Pro launcher has been programmed and is set to automatically do version checks of the two applications that are started when GS Pro starts. Application number one is the Connect, and application 2 is GS Pro. Now looking further into the underlying belly of GS Pro, you'll see a folder called Core. And Core has a GS Pro folder and a GS Pro C, or the Connect folder. This is for all things Connect. And this is all things GS Pro. Inside the GS Pro folder, you'll find your courses folder. That is where all the golf courses are stored. And looking further into that, you can see all the golf courses that are here. So with that being said, this is where GS Pro lives if you installed it in the default location. I just wanted to give a quick little peek behind the scenes and the folder structure and where everything is located on your hard drive as we talk about the basics of starting up after you have installed GS Pro. Now, starting up GS Pro after it's been installed, double-clicking this icon will bring up the GS Pro launcher, which you will see here. It has and is downloading the current version currently of GS Pro. Well, as long as we use this launcher, the updates will happen automatically. Once the update has finished, you will see the GS Pro configuration window that pops up. Your screen resolution is going to be the resolutions that are available on your video card. Not only just on your video card, but also if you have an NVIDIA card, the NVIDIA Control Center, you can create custom screen resolutions for your computer, for your screen, and for your projector, however that configuration is. Once you've created that custom resolution, you should see it here in this pull-down menu. Additionally, you can start it in windowed mode or non-windowed mode. So what is Windows mode? Well, if we open up a Windows Explorer, this right here is a window. So if you start it up in Windows mode, you can start GS Pro up in a small little screen that you see here. Otherwise, for your simulator, especially for your projector, you're probably going to want to start this in full screen, which would mean this is unchecked. Next, you'll look at your graphics quality. You're going to go from the most streamlined graphics here in the GSPRoLITE all the way up to Ultra, which is going to tax your video card to the max. So what does that mean? That means that on Ultra, it's going to draw as much detail as it possibly can. And on GSProLITE, it's going to try to minimize the details in order to maximize the gameplay. And then you have all the settings in between. If you have some older cards, video cards, I suggest starting at medium, looking at the frame rate to see how gameplay is played and how it visually looks, and then incrementally creep up to high, very high, or ultra, depending on what your video card can handle. Now, as a side note here, I would like to emphasize that each individual golf course is going to have different requirements on your video card. So if you don't have the latest and greatest video card, and you play a golf course that is one of the brand new, ultra detailed, ultra big type courses, then you might have to, even on your video card that you can normally play on ultra, before thinking there's a problem with a golf course, please change it to high, try again. Change it to very high, try again, and see which setting is going to be needed in your graphics quality for that particular golf courses. For instance, the golf course that is in Augusta, Georgia, where they wear green jackets on a regular basis, your video card may need to be placed on high in order to play that golf course at a peak performance versus ultra graphics. So please keep that in mind, that not only does your graphics card play a role in selecting which mode that you want to use, but the golf course and how the designer created that and what assets and what detail they placed into the golf course in building it also plays a major role. And our last setting is going to be the display. If you have, like I have, 3 set monitors set up, which would be, I have a projector, I have a 50-inch television, and I have a computer monitor. My computer monitor and my projector are mirrored, so they count as one display, and my television is my other display. My projector and my computer screen are actually to the left of my television. So I want the monitor, I want GSPro to open on the left display. Now keep in mind that your configuration will dictate what this is going to be and what it needs to be. Play around with that particular setting to make sure that you get it exactly the way that you want it. Now I'm going to quickly load up a couple of golf courses in GSProLITE. I will pause the video in between to speed up the actual video so that way you can see the difference between GSProLITE and Ultra. So I will be starting a course, pausing it, starting a course, and pausing it throughout the next piece of this video. The first setting I'm going to use is going to be GSProLITE. I'm going to be doing it at 1920 by 1080, which is the default resolution of my computer screen, and I'm going to be in full window mode, full screen mode, not windowed mode. And let's get it rolling on GSProLITE. At the main screen, you won't notice any difference between any of the graphic display settings selected, whether it's GSProLITE or that you're using Ultra. You'll only notice it when it loads the golf course. Okay, so I've chosen Whistling Straits. It's a fairly new golf course that has been done in a lot of detail by your one and only tech bud. Hats off to you for taking the time to do this particular course with the hundreds and hundreds of sand bunker splines that are on this golf course. So this golf course will truly test your machine. All right, so I've gone into free flight mode to fly around the golf course. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit the F key, the letter F on the keyboard, to go into look at the frame rate. As you can see, I have 32, 35 frames here going on. And as I start putting the trees into the scene, it goes lower. Now, one thing I do want to show you that on this particular setting, As I get closer to the trees, you'll see the shadows start to kick in. I really want to show this to you so that detail will kick in at a closer rate. There they are. So when I get this close, you can see that all these shadows kicked in, right? And the details started kicking in. But as I get farther away, those things are going to get into what we call billboard range. All right. And as we get into these grasses, right, we also get into, it starts filling in. You can see it slowly doing so because we're not at ultra that's going to draw it all for us on this particular golf course. All right. All right, let's go to another setting and check out the same thing. Okay, we have completely gone all the way out of GS Pro. We're out of GSProLITE. We're going to go into Ultra. Now, I don't think my graphics card is going to be able to handle Ultra very well with this particular golf course, but we're going to give it a try. Now, I'm back in free flight mode and we're on Ultra. And as you can see, even this far away, we can still see shadows in the trees. And the change of those trees don't take place until we're much further away into the scene. And as you can see here, even in Ultra, the grasses under the tree will start to draw as we get closer. The tree shadows, shapes, and details are much more realistic as we are a little bit further away. Now that is the difference, between Ultra, that was the tab key shortcut. For all the shortcuts, that's all your tab key. And as you can see, F for FPS. But as you can see, my FPS is way down because it's drawing so much more on Ultra setting with my video card. So I've gone from a 40 down to a 14. And at this rate, trying to actually play would be near impossible. I would get lag, the shot would be really slow, the scene would move really slow, but you can see the difference in what this looks like from Ultra to GS Pro Lite on this particular golf course. Now let's take a look at a golf course that is not as intensive as Whistling, because as you can see in the mini map here, there's so many splines and so many sand traps just here. So let's take a look at a different course. All right, so I'm going to load GS Pro back up into GS Pro Lite mode, and we're going to go to one of my favorite courses, and I hope it's one of yours, Mattaponi Springs, here in Rutherford Glen, Virginia. One of my favorite courses to play here in my local area. It's also had become a fan favorite as the version 2 tools came out a little while ago. So anyways, I am a little partial to that golf course. All right, let's load it up. Mattaponi Springs, and away we go. We're in practice mode. All right, here we are with Mattaponi Springs. Hole number one of my favorite holes on the golf course. It's not the easiest hole. Water with driver is definitely in play. Some things to point out when using GS Pro Lite. First of all, there's no 3D grass. It's just a texture. Secondly, the tree definitions are going to fall out of view faster than they would normally. So the reflection of the water is not there that you should be used to. Your textures are not there like you would think that they were in all the things that you would be looking at. Oops, I'm going too fast. So that's something to keep in mind when you're using GS Pro Lite. But interestingly enough, it does, hole number two, it does look very playable. FPS is in the 40 range, very playable at this point. I'm in mouse mode, so I can definitely take a shot. Let me get out of free flight mode. F5, I am back in game mode. I can take a shot, and I don't really see a great amount of lag. There's a little bit, but not hateful. All right. And now I can take a shot from here. I hit the number 8 key, and I'm going straight towards the hazard. And I carried the hazard. Unusual, but there you go. Hit the 8 key, and it puts me over there, so I can keep practicing. And I can try that again. Oh boy, I still messed it up. And anyways, so you can see that gameplay is working just fine. Okay. All right, let's jump out of here and take a look at Matapanai in Ultra. All right, let's fire this up now. We've exited out completely, and let's fire up the same golf course in Ultra. All right, we're starting up Matapanai Springs in Ultra mode. As you can see here, we are now in Ultra mode, and the first thing that you should notice is we have 3D grass. It's wonderful grass to look at that gives us a much better look at the golf course, especially when you're in this rough. As we fly around, you'll see the tree details are much further out. Also, you can see that my sink has dropped dramatically. All right, but you can also see, even from here, the reflection in the water is much clearer than it was earlier. The water is responding much more like water than it was in the past. I can see the reflection of these trees now in the water. I can see the shimmer of the water as well. So the course itself has got much, much greater detail just by playing it on Ultra. Just looking at the pine trees, the bark, looking through at the green in the back, the water picking up the different tree reflections as we change our angles, the details of the stone wall, all very, very detail oriented because we're on Ultra. But yes, at a cost of our sink rate. Let's move on over to hole number 2, which we played just earlier. And just by the sheer volume of trees and the detail that's trying to be drawn here, our sink rate has dropped to a whopping 15 at its best, from 40 something, sometimes 50, trying to play this. Now I'm going to take a shot here, and I'm going to see what it actually would look like, because I believe it's going to be very laggy in taking this golf shot. Right, we got a warning already. I turned the V-Sync off, low frame rates. It's just not handling the game well. All right, so the last thing I really want to talk about and demonstrate is windowed mode, as well as just setting up a game in general. So let's talk about Windows mode. I'm going to make my window a little bit smaller, hit play, and as you can see, I'm now operating in windowed mode instead of it being completely in full screen. Now, this little dialog box that pops up here every time on my particular computer right now is because it's reminding me that I'm in mouse control mode. Mouse control. So I'm using my mouse to play GSPro. I'm not using a launch monitor and a golf club. This can be very useful, especially for designers, where we can play the golf course at our computer, sitting down at our desk, and quickly get a feel for it. But it can be played with just complete mouse control. So let's do a quick little setup. Now we're going to do a quick match. We have a lot of golf courses to choose from. If I choose Matapanai, here you can select people that you want to play with. If you're playing locally and your simulator, remember to always come over to match settings, change stroke, Stableford, scrambled, match, right? Best ball, that's in beta, right? So stroke. What tee box you want to use in the distances. Most courses have a par 3, so the entire golf course is par 3. Now say you wanted to know, hey, this par 3, what are some of the longest tees? Well, jump on over to holes. It'll show you 180, 203, 130, and it'll show you the yardages for every single one. So once you got your settings, you can set your gimme circle. I've done a video on auto putt fixed in the past. The elevation, if you're using the actual elevation of the course, or your global, which I set to 0. The stimp, speed of the green. your putting, which is normal, which is the same as on SGT Tour. Mulligans on or off, wind, calm or off, no wind at all, or you could have it gusty, whatever you'd like. Once you have all that set up, you've looked at your different settings for this, simply click on play. So in closing, I just want to talk to you and remind you that there are many different settings. As you can see, the wind in the background of I chose gusty. As you can see, the wind has drastically been picked up. It's a 17-mile-an-hour wind. But anyways, in closing, setting up GS Pro is not that difficult. It's not rocket science, but sometimes, depending on your video card, your computer setup, and your configuration, it could take a little bit of trial and error. Once you've got it worked out to what's going to be best for your setup, then it's going to be just like snapping your finger, doing it over and over again. I hope this video has been helpful. Please subscribe, give me a like down below, and please share the videos with others. Thanks for watching, and I hope to have another video soon. If you have any ideas for topics or suggestions for videos, please give me a shout in my messages.